Quinn and Paul Rogers there, 39 on the Return of the Champions album. So today, it's the 18th of May, and it's a new episode of Velocity Kinetics. It's the day of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, or Imola to most people. Do intend to try and watch that for a change, because I often just don't get the bloody chance to. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, you know what, I haven't really thought it through. Well, I have and I haven't. There's a couple of things I want to talk about, and I have no idea how I want to discuss it. One thing I am going to address straight off the bat, I realised in the last one of these videos I did, my mic fell off, so it was on the floor. So you've got some interesting induction noise and turbo noise that I can often hear down sort of here where my hand is gesturing. I don't know how in frame that actually is or isn't. It's not, the audio isn't unusable. It's not wasn't unusable. It's not fantastic, but it's not exactly. I've used worse in older videos, so it's okay, and I apologise in advance if this mic falls off. I think what I want to talk about is a few things. Number one, I think I want to talk about is something that's annoyed me in a video I was watching, and it was an Auto Alex video, and I know some people who watch this who might watch his content, because it's very unlikely that they'll be watching my content, probably watching his instead. It came up, and this is post. This is since the reboot, so to speak. If that's how describing what they've done. So it's post reboot, and there was a point made, and I can't remember what the video was. I think it was a podcast, and they were talking about what it means to them to be a petrol head. Now, there are several different definitions of what is considered a petrol head. Several different. So I've got a cyclist ahead of me, and I cannot see round him. I just realised I might get better. Now, you've got your standard, basically, dictionary definition of what it means to be a petrol, which is someone who just loves cars, anything and everything. Or at least that's how I would interpret it. They're just a car nut, car lover, cannot get enough, which is the definition I would use. You've then got people like Clarkson, so you can't be considered a true petrolhead until you've owned an Alfa Romeo, because Alfa Romeos are very passionate, mostly good driving cars, but have a questionable reliability history. I'm guessing the logic is the sensible petrolhead in you would have said, no, we're not buying that car, we're going to get something a bit more reliable. And I suppose that isn't a bad I suppose the logic being that if you love something enough, you will forgive its foibles. And that's not an unfair definition, because you could argue that is what the definition of love is between humans and other humans, or whether they're talking about their pets. You love them for their foibles. And yeah, I kind of get the idea. But the Auto Alex one was, you can't be considered a petrol head unless you work on your own car and have bought things that break down. And that pisses me off no end. Oh. Well, that's a problem. I've just come down a road. There's no signs further back saying it's road closed. You just come up on it and say, it says road closed. Okay, we'll have to work this out as we go. Anywho. That definition annoys me. Now, like I said, I do like the Auto Alex content, especially since it's reboot. They're passionate, they know their stuff, but at the same time they border on what I would describe as a faux petrolhead, a fake petrolhead. They can't recommend anything other than BMWs left, right and centre. They can't recommend anything more than the bleeding obvious, I suppose you could say. Oh, I don't want to hit that dove. Got a little collared dove even, sorry, I haven't seen many of them around for a long time. But they know stuff, but they always recommend, they never go they don't always go very left field with their choices on anything. And they don't listen to what people ask. Like in the new podcast, there's this whole section of, where they ask for recommendations. And they don't listen to what the person wants. Alex seems to, from the episodes I've seen. I don't religiously watch that podcast, I must confess. I don't religiously watch it, but from the ones I've seen, he seems to get the rules that they're sticking to. Granted, he did recommend a BMW for something, I think it was a tow car. What surprised me, there was no Volvo recommendation in it, because a lot of Volvos are pretty strong tow cars, especially with the older D5 ones. But even the more recent D4s and D3s can tow quite... I don't know what they're rated to, a lot's down to the chassis on that, but they're better than a lot of things out there. And a lot of Skodas are as well. But it bugs me, because in my mind, if you're a petrolhead and know your car stuff, I suppose they would argue, well, this is where it borders on between your passion and just being knowledgeable. But surely the two can marry up. You can be knowledgeable and passionate and make the right choice. Now, don't get me wrong, you can't, in a lot of fields, like IT, for example, sometimes you can't be considered professional until you've made a mistake. And yeah, I don't disagree with that sentiment. You can't sometimes be considered anything IT technical related until you have had a PC that's blown up, that you've pushed too hard and too fast. It's bloody annoying. Or that you've cobbled PCs together that shouldn't work. You've done things that shouldn't really work. But in my mind, to be a true petrolhead, you've just got to love cars. That is all I would say, is you've just got to love your cars. Doesn't matter what, because that is subjective. And what do you mean? What do people mean by subjective? Well, let me put it this way. I apologise for any women that watch this. This next section might sound a bit could be inadvertently interpreted as being sexist. Should continue going this way for a bit. I find, in my opinion, particularly when she was in Titanic, Kate Winslet is an incredibly beautiful woman. And I would say she's one of the most beautiful actresses that has ever been on screen. But for some people, they might say, no, actually, that's it. In their opinion, it's Gillian Anderson, it's Margot Robbie, it's... You see what I mean? It's basically one man's chalk is another man's cheese. And that's the same when it comes to cars. I can't stand SUVs, but that is the way things are going. Some people who claim to be petrolheads love SUVs, and although I would say there is a general consensus among a larger portion of the petrosexual community that would say you can't be a petrolhead and like an SUV, or recommend them, or what have you. And as mean as it sounds, I kind of have to agree. The car, it's a use. They're useless. Have no use at all. Well, at least in my opinion, they're completely useless. So yeah, that their definition really narked me quite massively, because I've been fortunate enough in my time to not have to think too much about what cars I buy beyond I want it. As in, I haven't had to think, oh, I've got to get children in this car, I've carry a bicycle loads of places, or anything of a similar sort of nature. Go down there. I've never been down that way. I know I've made a very late decision on this. And that's just telling me that it thought I'd hit some grass. Oh, we'll see what's down here. We're going down some roads of the type I don't particularly like, but it's quite some. Wow, that is exactly the sort of house and grounds I would love to own one day. Really doesn't feel like that's ever going to happen. Only ever going to be an up there thing. But I've been fortunate enough to not have to think too much about what sort of cars I need, basically. And unfortunately for some petrol heads, they have not had that luxury, and I completely feel for them. I side with whatever decisions they've had to make. They might have had a big family, regardless of whether that's their own family or just a big family and they're the only driver, so they've had to have something like a Vauxhall Zafira, Alhambra, something big, bulky that they wouldn't really have ordinarily chosen given their weight. That's fine. I think my father-in-law, he's always, because Sarah's family is quite a big family, he's always had people carriers, but I think given his way, he'd actually quite like a nice saloon or a nice little hatchback, given his choice. Although he sort of likes a big people carrier in general anyway, he sort of learned to like, what's wrong to say, is it wrong to say learn to like him? It's not Stockholm syndrome, let's put it that way. He doesn't like him out of Stockholm syndrome. Because I think I might have achieved lift, even though I wasn't doing 60. Woo! Runway! I found a runway. That is somewhere I would love to try VMAXing this. If I wasn't able to. Preston. I ain't come that far north. But But the other thing is, like, on their comments about you can't be considered petrolhead unless you worked on your own car, sort of thing. So I've also had cars that have been brand new, because again, I've been able to. Well, some would say, well, because you did it on finance. Like, look, those were the circumstances I chose, and that is how I was able to do it. This is going to make a bang. She had the passing spot, but I had to go up on the curb. And a lot of the conditions within those finances, particularly the Suzuki finance, at least maybe on my Swift, I can't remember if they changed conditions or what have you, but there was something in there that the car wasn't allowed to be modified, or unless it was a case of if I'd had modified it, if I had to hand the car back, it would have had to have gone back to factory, as in factory spec. And if that was the way the condition was worded, then you know what, that is a more than fair way to word it. But I've also not had the luxury of space. So like when I lived in Middlesbrough, I didn't have a parking space. I had to park on the street. Can't exactly start tinkering with cars on the road. as fun as that might have been to do, and as much as watching things like Auto Alex and things have made me want to grab a spanner and start working on a car, I've not had the luxury of space to do it. So of course I can't be considered a petrolhead in that circumstance. But being a petrolhead is not a thing for wealthy people only. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not a wealthy person pursuit. To get the most out of it, yes, admittedly, it probably is a wealthy person pursuit. To buy the best and so on. But then when you run a YouTube channel and get bits handed to you from Febby Bilstein and BC Racing and what have you, of course you're always going to have X, Y and Z to do. People out walking. Lovely round here. So, yeah, whilst it might sound like I'm having another dig at Auto Alex again, whether you want to say it's jealous or real or not, frankly I couldn't care less. It's the notion of what they believe a petrolhead is that they want to stick to. If I had the space and the money, I saw on Facebook Marketplace a Volvo S70. So I don't know how many are on the road or were built, but that was the model that predated the S60. So it was the saloon version of the original V70. Very classy looking saloon. Took over from where the 850 dropped off. A slightly bigger, a bit more boxy, but comfortable saloon car with a big five-cylinder engine in the front. I believe some of them were as small as 2 litres and 5 cylinders. Certainly most of the V70s I've seen from that sort of age are about 2.5, 2.3, 2.5. So just in general, a good car. It was in bottle green. This one I saw, it was up in Norwich, and they wanted 700 quid for it. The interior was in good nick. It just needed help to get up and running, which sort of you know what, I'm not gonna get too precious over. I am completely lost at the moment. Well, I suppose that's half the objective of these drives, is to go get lost. Cyclists up ahead. Coming to a straight bit. But I'd love to have bought it. I'd love to have started learning how to tinker on it and brought it up to a nice spec if I had the space and had the money to do so. Because the other thing is, sometimes being a petrolhead, if you're going to go by the definition of you've got to work on your car, if you're in the point in life where you're trying to apply for mortgages, loans, credit cards, any sort of big financial what have yous, lots and lots of random expenses can then begin to start acting against you. Not that they will, but if affordability is tight, it's like, well, what's this expense, what's that expense? It may not be the sort of questioning you want to be on the receiving end of is probably the best way to... Ow! Bloody pothole! Oh! Damn! And that's one of those horrible ones you didn't bloody see until after you've gone over it. Oh God, why are UK roads so bad? Where does all the money go? It feels alright in a straight line. I haven't got any tyre pressure warnings come up. Let's check on the next straightish bit that we can see. We'll give it a little bit of a weave. Just make sure nothing like in the suspension's been... Mind you, we're on some twists, so... We'll see. Still feels alright. But yeah, the notion of being a petrolhead, you do you when it comes to cars. You haven't got the space for a project car? Doesn't matter. What would you have as a project car? Feel like you haven't got the know-how to begin? Find something scrappy and pull it to pieces and see if you can put it back together. Added bonus if it still works, hence why I say something scrappy. I.e. if it's destined for the scrap heap, but a little bit of tinkering wouldn't go amiss. Or just do what I do. I just make what I believe is the best decision for me and my circumstances at the time, and hope, not quite pray, sort of being atheist agnostic, but I suppose technically it's praying with the amount of hoping it is. Just pray I've made the right decisions and that they don't come to bite me in the arse later. Nah, that's alright. Don't know where the hell I am, but it's lovely around here. Whoa. Oh, God. This is the only thing I'd say that's hard work about navigating by signposts on these back roads. The signpost is in the middle here, and I was already on top of that when it's saying Bruce this way. So, I suppose this portion of this video, I would say, you want to be a petrolhead? Oh, shitting hell. Camera's spun around. Alright, we'll have to hope that's in the right spot still. Jesus, it's knocked my filter off my mic as well. Have to watch the replay of that to see when that came off. Bloody hell. Why does this feel familiar? Or was it just because I had customers who live this direction? Why have I had customers that live this direction? Oh well, it is what it is, or it isn't. So yeah, petrolheads, you do you. Do what works for you. I'm not gonna criticise. I'm not gonna judge you. Ultimately, it boils down to what my opinion is versus yours. And everyone's entitled to their opinion, whether it is right or wrong, and you're allowed to voice it in whatever way you deem correct. Doesn't mean I have to agree with how you voice it. Doesn't mean I have to agree with your choices. Going back to Auto Alex, for example, This time it's not to dig, but all three of them might, and even going into the TDC guys as well, maybe even ATG, and they'd all probably pick a BMW for something, and that's good for you. Not my cup of tea. Thanking you. The BMW isn't my choice. I would probably find a way to go Swedish, and that's okay, because I'm allowed to think that way. I've been blessed with free thought, and for some reason, taking the politics out of everything, the internet seems to frown upon people who try to have free thought and encourage it. Like, well, that's great, that's your opinion, doesn't have to be mine. That's Hesse Berry. I mentioned at the start of this I want to watch the Grand Prix today, the Imola Grand Prix. Don't know how I'm going to watch it. Probably have to find us. Actually, I think it's on Channel 4 today. I have to double check. If it's on Channel 4, that's why I'm watching it. Do you know what? I think F1 have missed a trick by not somehow partnering up with Netflix fully or Disney Plus to start streaming. I've done a giant loop. I've just seen a sign for something. I feel like I drove past going that way, and I hope I'm wrong. Well, do and don't, as in, I hope I'm wrong in the sense of, oh, that's disappointing. Yeah, I have just done a loop. I drove past that on the way here. At least I think I did. And more bicyclists. Feckin' world. But I'm concerned in the Red Bull camp, very concerned what's going on there. They've already had Lawson in and out. They got Yuki in, and Yuki's not performing very well. It's amazing he's doing as okay as he is, in the sense of he had was it practice? No, it wasn't practice. It was Q1 yesterday. Flipped the car, and the fact that it's never good to see an F1 car upside down. In fact, he was upside down, brushed the top of the barriers as well. It's more of a fucking hell. You know what? I'm just more pleased that you got out of the car yourself. Yes, I know I'm bring dishonour. Sorry, I just realised that saying those two things together was not good things. Sounds like a really bad comment towards Yuki, which is not. But it's concerning for me how whatever's happening in that Red Bull. And I don't know whether it's just a simple case of the Red Bull is the Red Bull is a capricious car to drive. It really is not the easiest of things to do. Max can somehow do it, but it does just generally seem to suit his style more, which is a style that not everyone has. Some of those houses I've just passed, that's what's wrong with UK house building at the moment. Why can't we just build houses like that? Big, spacious, on good plots of land. Anyway. Whatever's going on in that Red Bull is alarming, it's concerning, it's not it can't be a good look for Red Bull. You would have to be immensely concerned. Say for instance if you're George Russell, who's out of contract at the end of this year. You would have to be immensely concerned about going there if they made a plate for you, because if no one other than Max can drive that car and seemingly get the best out of it in its current form, whether you're going to go there to play second fiddle to Max or whether Max is off elsewhere, whether that's just to enjoy fatherhood for a year or so, or whether that's off to another team, don't know. Frankly, don't care wherever he's off to. Not as in don't care about Max, just sort of for the purposes of this conversation, he's just not in the number one seat. You've got to be very nervous about signing up for the Red Bull seat, even as the number one. It has weird peaks and troughs of performance, that car. Pirelli have introduced the C6 tyre to try and introduce more strategy. I think the time maybe has come for F1 to decide to mandate mandatory number of pit stops per race to bring in the strategy. That said, though, it then takes away the likes of heroic drives like Albon did a couple of years ago in the Williams, where he nursed a set of tyres, was it 50 plus laps, and got in the points. Thinking Australia, where he managed to finish P8, or he did nearly the entire race on a set of tyres, and then came in on the last lap or penultimate lap and put some softs on, or the hards on, something like that. I can't remember the full circumstance of that. But the trouble is, it takes away that strategy element. It's all very well saying you need to do at least 2 stops, but what if you've got a car that is good in its tyres, and you might be able to gamble on the 1? Then where do you stand on the rain? To rush there. Maybe not the bit I want to go to. What's that? So there's a bird with a big wingspan flying. Is that a barn owl? Do you know, I think it was. I think outside of them coming in to show you animals when you're at school or a Cub Scout, I think I've only ever seen this is proving problematic. I just want to get to and a deer. I've only ever seen a barn owl in flight in the wild, maybe twice. That was either, or was it only been once? That was no more than the 3rd time in 35 years that has happened, that I've seen that. Glorious animals. So yeah, back to the F1. So it's a case of, well, what do they do? Do they bring, the moment you mandate pit stops, you take away small teams trying to do something different? But then I suppose the argument is like, well, you could always just do more. always do more pit stops and sprint. And they're not wrong in that theory. Oh, where's that black cat going? He is going up that driveway. Okay. You bloody had that Mazda had the passing point. And it's me that's gone up on the fucking grass. Again. Another fucking... Oh, this is just exhausting. Is it pothole knock, pothole knock, pothole knock? I'm very impressed with the Williams this year. I haven't had a chance to watch much of the races. Typically at the moment I've only been able to catch highlights. Again, it's because I haven't... It's like, if it's on Channel 4, it's at times I just can't watch it. Sarah and I have got stuff to do, and I can't spare 2 hours to watch a race. Or rather, if I did manage to spare 2 hours to watch a race, I'd rather get the work done than chill, not chill then get the work done. If that makes sense. I've just come round. Well, I'm more or less where I want to be. I'm just not quite there. Let's take me on a massive round the houses. Oh, that's still there. That's still there. Yes, it is. Sorry, it sounded like my mic had actually just completely come off. I had sort of expected this to bring me out where I'm over here, not over here, but close enough. Close enough for where I wanted to be. The Williams are impressive this year, so far. I appreciate they're focusing everything on 2026, but whatever they've done, and it's got to be more than just getting the title sponsor of Atlassian. Anyone who has to use Jira and do any sort of agile ways of working will know the pain of that piece of software. It's whatever James Vowles has done, even if it's just fucking hell. You chose a blind bend. That Hyundai chose a blind bend to overtake on. Absolute wank. Absolute wanker. I don't get whatever the hell Alpine are doing at the moment. There's something okayish about that car. I suppose we describe the Red Bull as capricious. The Alpine, infinitely more so. Alpine has a hell of a lot more peaks and troughs, because there have been times where they've looked okay for potentially going for a podium, and then there have been times where it's been like, well, we showed up, we were here too, sort of mentality. And I don't get what they're doing with the driver lineup. I can't tell if they're just trying to get the team in order to sell, which some would say going to Mercedes power next year and having that, however long that's contracted for, is a way of getting in a better position to sell. Is it just Alpine realising they can't? Is it a cost-cutting exercise? If they're not building their own engine, they can plough more money into the chassis. You also don't know what sort of technical debt they're working to. Getting rid of Doohan a few races in is mental. Granted, he got longer than Lawson, but getting rid of Doohan a few races in seems stupid. And then they brought Colapinto in. Now, don't get me wrong, Franco Colapinto had an amazing run in the Williams last year for someone who was dropped in it at the last minute. But Colapinto's already gone and binned the Alpine, and it's got a big rebuild cost on it, and that's just overnight into the Grand Prix this morning. Sorry, Grand Prix this afternoon. Whether he'll have to start from the pit lane or not, I don't know. I'm sort of aimlessly driving around now, because it's like I also need to get something for my lunch today, and I don't know where to go. I was going to utilise a free voucher that I got from Costa for my birthday, but you know what, I don't always like Costa stuff. Sort of one of those things, just because it's free doesn't mean you have to have it. Also struggling with I feel like I'm struggling with my weight again. I feel like I'm going backwards. See previous video about feeling funny about George. Ferrari, the Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari thing, I have to give Lewis a lot of credit, even though I'm not the biggest fan of him. He could have easily just quietly bowed out of Mercedes, gone into retirement as probably, certainly statistically, the most successful, if not actually the most successful driver in Formula One. He's giving it a good go at Ferrari. Ferrari have dropped the ball, because it's not like Leclerc is ahead of Hamilton for the most part, but it's not like Leclerc is romping away with victories and podiums and Hamilton's bringing home 2 or 3 points. There is something systemic, endemic. There is something very wrong in the way things are being done. Truck? No, okay. Okay, I did make the gap for you that he could have, although I think he's technically speeding with that trailer. I think he limited to 60 and I'm doing 70 and I can't quite pass him. Yeah, I'm doing 70. Oh, now we are. So maybe it wants off at the next exit. I don't, but yeah, credit to Lewis. And one of these things as well, let's not forget, in his entire time in Formula 1, this is only Lewis's 3rd team move. There are some people who have been in F1 in half the time and have been in twice as many, have been in more teams than that. So Lewis has not got the whole. You could argue, rightly or wrongly, Lewis has not got the whole changing teams thing down. He's not done it very many times before, so he's always going to have an uphill struggle. And yes, to a point, you're kind of right, because I have wondered that myself. if Mark Priestley was still doing the weekly Ask Elvis videos, I probably would be asking him, do we think some of Lewis's struggles is because he hasn't changed teams very often? Now that trailer is trying to overtake me again. And yeah, but at the same time, it's Lewis, Ferrari, Englishman in a Ferrari. I think the first Englishman since Nigel Mansell. I think Irvine raced under the Ulster flag, Irish flag. So yeah, I think Hamilton's doing a okay job, given the tools at his disposal. Doesn't excuse Ferrari dropping the ball in the ways they are. McLaren, what a turnaround. What a turnaround. I know last year they won the Constructors, so I was like, what do you mean by what a turnaround? I mean, as in, at points in this current rules cycle, and even just this current engine rules cycle, they have been at the back and then some. But now, to be where they are, winning races, having won a Constructors, it gives hope to the likes of Williams that they can get back to good. I think my mic has just come off now. Sorry if it has. It gives hope to small teams that they might be able to get back up the top. Whatever engineering McLaren have done, or whether they haven't got a magic bullet, I just think they've stumbled upon something that just works in their car. And I suppose that's the other good thing as well, with it being McLaren Mercedes that's winning, whilst there is a Mercedes F1 team in the sport. It's reassuring to see that you could win the championship as a customer. Because McLaren are a customer team. They don't have a works engine supply. And whilst the likes of Haas and Sauber at the moment aren't likely to ever win with Ferrari power, as in their current form, that both those teams in their current forms, should I say, not the Ferrari engine, it is reassuring to see that you can go, yeah, but McLaren are at the back and they got back to the front. At the same time, though, the small print in that statement is McLaren have got a good history of recovering bad seasons. They're able to do it better than some others because of the resources they have. Yeah, it has come off. It's just been pressed into place. So yeah, that's it's shaping up to be an interesting season. Maybe not an all-time great, because of some people would say, well, Piastri and McLaren, they're all waltzing away with it. But that's the whole thing, though. It's not like it's just Piastri waltzing away with it. Lando is showing hints of greatness in what he's doing. Russell is doing good. Antonelli's doing a hell of a lot better than I thought he would. I was not a fan of seeing Antonelli be put back in the Mercedes. Or not be put back in. I wasn't a fan of him being leapfrogged into the Mercedes, nor was I a fan of the idea of him pushing someone out of Williams to get on the grid for this year. But doing a fine job. Actually, wait, forget back on the Hamilton thing. Ollie Behrman technically is the first Englishman to have raced for Ferrari. Be signed to the team as a full-time driver. We'll use that stipulation. So we're coming to the end now. Updates. Swace is running still fine. This car's still running fine. No more issues so far with the tyre pressures. This car is chewing fuel, but I think it's just because I need a car to do my own thing when Sarah's at work. the problem is sometimes my own thing doesn't happen often enough. Not that I've made a mistake in buying a second car, 'cause the problem is there are more occasions than not where we need one, but a lot of argument can be made, well, why don't you just take Sarah to work? And like, yeah, but then she's got to wait for me to come get her, and then, for instance, trying to just get your dinner done at the end of the day is made a lot more difficult, because she's waiting for me to pick her up, and then I've got to somehow cook dinner and go get it from work, which is not an easy task to do. And trust me, I've tried to do that multiple times, and more than once I've nearly ruined dinner. Not it was much to ruin, but still, it's the principle of trying to cook a nice meal and it not going to plan. But anyway, we'll finish it here. Doctor, he's gone. We'll finish it here. So everyone, have a nice week. Have a good time, whatever it is you're doing. I haven't forgotten about the other video that I did start a little while ago, which is trying to work out what the current everyman car in the UK would be at the moment. The research on that is just a lot more grinding than what I'd anticipated. Coupled to, and I think a lot of people would understand this, sitting in front of a computer all day, typing, reading, typing. The last thing I then want to do is then sit in front of a computer reading and typing and researching at the end of my day. But there we are. Anyway, drive safe, look after yourselves, and I will see you next time.